We do it every week. Catch up with the head coach of the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, ahead of the Niners and the Bears on Sunday. We'll have it for you right here on The Sports Leader. Kyle joins us on the UMA guest line. What's up, Kyle? How are you, man?
Good, guys. How's it going?
We're doing well, man.
What's going on, Kyle?
I was gonna ask you, in terms of coaching in games like that, where it's tons of snow or tons of rain, is there one that's more annoying or more frustrating for you?
Oh, rain by far.
Yeah, why is that?
Because rain is just being wet. It's hard. The ball is so much worse. Rain and wind is to me the worst. Rain's the coldest. You stay wet. Snow, usually when it's snowing, it's not as cold, not that cold.
Yeah.
As long as you dress appropriately, you're all right. But when it's raining, you're sitting there like a wet dog. You can't dry off. You're shaking the whole game. You can't use a pin for anything. I mean, the snow there, at least my call sheet didn't. It was sticky snow. It didn't get that wet, so I could still cross things out and things like that. So, rain by far is the worst.
You have to change socks at halftime?
I don't in the snow because it's not that wet. We wear some boots out there, but yeah, the rain's terrible.
It seems like it's a nightmare. I mean, kicking is tough, running is tough, throwing the ball in the rain is a nightmare. It feels like, and didn't seem like it was going to be as snowy as it was. And then the skies kind of opened up for you. Anyway, game on Sunday against the Bears, and a team that is been progressing a little bit. I think in the last couple of weeks, their offense has changed a little bit with the change at head coach. But I wanted to ask you about your guys. I know today, no Bosa, no Trent, just. Any progress for them, or are they trending in a certain way right now?
They're making progress. I mean, they're getting better, but not good enough to practice. So, we're still giving them time, especially with those two players. They got 2 more days. I mean, 3 if we count right before kickoff. So hopefully they can turn the corner and get better and have a chance to go this Sunday. But wish they could have gone today, but they're still not there yet.
What's going on, Kyle? I'm the son of the guy you just talked to, so I apologize to talk to all these papas.
Man, I'm getting a papa overload.
I know.
Today,
I'm sorry, but just one quick question: when he interviews you, do you ever think to yourself, "Why is this guy dressed exactly like me?"
that is so funny, man. Yeah, when did you start wearing these flat bills and stuff?
Yeah, I know.
When you became the head coach, dude. That's basically it.
Yeah, pretty much. But in all seriousness, from last week, how do you judge what you guys did offensively last game? I know yesterday you said you don't really put a lot of stock into what Ricky Pearsall did, and I'm assuming that's the same thing for George Kittle and his targets and Brock Purdy and his performance. Do you go over what you guys didn't do more defensively than what you didn't do offensively?
I do it both, and I do it with special teams. You do everything. I mean, you take things to account. It's Brock on the play that he turned it over on, that ball slipping out of his hands.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and just tell him how bad he messed up because he let the ball slip out of his hands there. He's going to the right spot with the ball. He's going there on time. You look at anything he did wrong with it, being careless or anything, and then you're like, hey, dude, I understand the situation here. That's why we're trying not to get in this situation so we don't have to call these passes. That's why we are trying to focus on the run. That's why we do got to hit some of these screens and things like that. So, going into that game and have an idea all week, we knew we were going to have to run the ball well, and we were going to try to excel in throwing screens, and I thought we did well in both of those areas. But the way it started out, I think we had, in our 5 drives, we crossed, in the first half, I think we crossed the 50 on all 5 drives. I think we had 1 incompletion, and we had 7 yards of carry, and we had 3 points to show for it. So that was disappointing. Why do we get to those 3 points? Well, there was a couple completions I thought we could have made on second down that got us closer to have a better third down attempt, and then we missed 2 field goals. But you should still be in a game in those elements with that situation. But when you're giving up that many yards per carry on the other side, and it's 21-3 like that, you got to come out in the third quarter, and you're going to come out strong. And I thought we did. We went down the field, got to the 1-yard line, and then fumbled. And so those are the things I'm hard on. There should be no reason for the fumble. We can't even we did a good job kick returning, but Debo can't give that fumble up there. And when you put yourself in a hole in the first half like that, by not stopping the run on defense and things like that, and then you turn the ball over on offensive special teams 3 times in the second half, it's eerily exactly what happened versus Green Bay. Yeah. I thought we had a chance to make that into a game, and when it is a game, you'll see what happens in the fourth quarter. It doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but both of those I felt should have been a game. And when you don't stop the run and you turn the ball over like we did, that's when you end up getting embarrassed with that score.
Kyle Shanahan is sponsored by Amici's East Coast Pizzeria. When you want the best pizza in town, Amici's delivers. In terms of some of the injuries on the roster and some of the guys who are going to get maybe more opportunities, what do you want to see from a rookie like Garendo for the rest of the year? We'll start with Garendo, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, when he's got, when Mason got hurt, I believe versus Seattle and stuff, he's come in and done a real good job.
Yeah.
So, just having an opportunity like that, he's, got a feel for it this year. I think he's gotten better as this year's gone. And now this is a hell of an opportunity for him. We always talk about our backs like, I don't like to have all three backs slightly different, so you could just play three guys. You want a guy who can play like a starting back, and anybody on our roster, we'd like to believe can play like a starting back, and that's kind of how we look at all of our guys. Because you think of every year here that I've been here, minus last year and the half of the year before with Christian, we've gone through four backs, and now we are down to our fourth back with especially with Elijah going on IR to start this season out in training camp, and so now he's going to get his opportunity, and I believe he can run like a starting back. That's what I expect from him. He's done it in the times that he's gotten it this year, and he's going to have 5 games to do this, and I think he'll get better as he goes, and hopefully this can be something he really takes advantage of and leads him into being a better player next year for us also.
What's Christian's impact when he's like, he was obviously out for the first part of the season, and he's still hanging out. He's still with the team just because we don't see him on the field. He's still out there in the running back room, I'd assume, and part of the offensive meetings. What's his impact on a rookie guy like Garendo?
Christian's the biggest thing is for, people come in and, they know Christian because, he's being an MVP and being on so many commercials and just being Christian McCaffrey, that they know him, and who knows what their opinion of him is before they meet him. But the coolest thing about Christian is when people get around him and you get to really see how great he is. Christian will talk to anyone. He'll lead by talking if you need it, but he's the best leader by example that there is. How committed he is to everything, how hard he works. Our whole team knew how ready he was for that Buffalo game. You could just see what he did in practice, what he did in walkthrough just over there in Buffalo on Saturday. His attention to detail on every little thing in the meetings, to his routes, to the runs, to the protections. He comes to work every day like he's the last guy on the roster scared to get cut. And when he's such a big-time player and you see the standard that he kind of works at, it's the best thing you can have for a coach, because how can a rookie come in and know how great he is and not feel like he needs to work the same?
So this weekend you're going up against Thomas Brown, interim head coach of the Chicago Bears, who was interim offensive coordinator just a couple weeks ago, and it's a lot of moving parts for him. You were a young coach in this league. Could you put yourself in his shoes of just how difficult that would be during the year to have to change so many jobs like that?
Yeah, I think it would be tough just because of, when jumping into the offense coordinator role, I believe, is the hardest.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get to prepare the team for it the whole offseason, how you were going to kind of set these guys up to practice in the offseason, what was going to lead to your game plans in the year. So I believe that's the biggest challenge. And when you get thrown into that role, which I think you did a few weeks ago, you want to do stuff that you believe in, but you can't just draw a play up and do it. You got to train guys. So you got to do things that guys feel comfortable with, and the only way guys feel comfortable is by repetition. And so it's a little bit different as a coordinator coming in the season. So you got to kind of ease that in. But then all of a sudden, while you're doing that, getting sprung as the head coach, it's just going to make his coordinator spot a little bit tougher. Now the head coach thing, you get a lot more attention. You got to talk to the media and stuff. But really, everything's going to run itself. He's just got to run some team meetings. He's got to talk to the team the night before. For the first time, he's probably going to be in charge of calling timeouts and throwing a challenge flag. But I also do believe that's a little easy for an offensive coach, because there's not a time that an offensive coach calls a play where he's not thinking about what the time is, the situation and stuff from a time standpoint and timeouts, where I feel like on defense it's not always the same. You don't always have to think about the time on the clock totally and what play I'm going to run to get out of bounds or how many yards I can get and things like that. So he should be somewhat used to it, but it's different when you're calling plays all game and thinking that way, and then all of a sudden you got to talk to someone at halftime and get your mind on how to be social and answer a question in that way. So you better be prepared for that, or that'll catch you off guard like it has to me many times.
Talking to Kyle Shanahan here, nice enough to join us on a Thursday afternoon, Niners and the Bears on Sunday. I just want to ask you about a play that happened, not so much about the fallout from it, but the Azeez Al-Shire hit this past week on Trevor Lawrence on the slide. There's been some debate about whether or not sliding should be something that quarterbacks do. We talked to Steve Young yesterday, and he said he always thought sliding was more scary and more dangerous because of what happened to Trevor Lawrence. He said, I think that the slide rule was invented kind of to protect guys who couldn't run. But he said if you're mobile, you're just kind of a runner. What's your thought on how a quarterback protects himself and the slide? I don't know what you coach guys to do or what you train them to do, but just your thought on a QB protecting himself in that situation.
Oh, I totally agree with Steve, man, with what you're saying. Sliding isn't easy for everybody. Some guys got a real natural feel for it. Probably some more guys with baseball experience and everything, and they can eat up a lot of yards and slide at the last second. But I'll tell you, It is. I mean, not everyone is trying to hurt the quarterback at all, and it is tough. I mean, a lot of these quarterbacks are bigger than a lot of these defensive guys, and they can really run some dudes over. And so you better bring it. And then at the last second when they slide, it's what we coach on a guy who can run you over. And is willing to run you over, you can't go in there with the intent that he's going to slide. You have to go in there ready to tackle him and hit him like a normal runner. But you do understand the rules. And when they do slide at the last second, your momentum really can't finish the tackles, but you also can't stop. And so what we coach guys to do is you got to dive over them. You're starting to lower your hips so you can explode into them and deliver the blow. And you can't stop that when they slide at the last second. So what you got to do is continue that movement, but you just got to dive over them. If you try to go into the body, you're always usually going to hit with the head in the head area. And when you lead with a forearm, like Aziz did, that's when people are going to look at it that way, and you're going to get in trouble for it, whether it's a fine, whether it's a suspension. But I mean, I know, the hit wasn't right, and especially leading with the forearm and stuff. And those are techniques that Aziz got to clean up. But I will say Aziz is, without a doubt, one of the most impressive, best people I've ever been around in the sport. This guy took full custody of his kids of his siblings throughout college, basically raised them, is the best community person I have ever been around. They used to call him the preacher on our team, or the pastor, because, the reverend. The reverend, whatever it was from Friday, what was that movie?
It was Remember the Titans, Rev?
Remember the
Rev,
Titans. Rev. He was like that. Yeah. So, he's, I get why everyone's sticking up for him from a character standpoint, because he is that type of guy. I mean, just ask my kids who've been around him, or anyone. He is special. But those hits, we do have to get out of the game. But I will say, it is not easy. And the sliding stuff, I totally agree with. I mean, there could come up with some more rules to help it out, because it is a really tough situation for defenders to be in. And the quarterback, they're sliding to protect themselves. But, yeah, that does make your chin and helmet vulnerable, even if the guy's intent isn't to hit you there.
Last one, Kyle. I am a proud fellow Longhorn myself, University of Texas alumni.
Nice.
I know you're busy. You're probably not watching every game, but what's your opinion of the team this year if you've seen them, and are you going to have a chance to watch the SEC championship game at all on Saturday?
I have not watched one game.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Saturdays, I have a whole routine.
Yeah, I figured.
When we're done with walkthroughs, I get my hour and a half nap in, and then I go straight to the hotel and I start going through this whole process. So when I go in the lunchroom or the meal room for a cup of coffee, sometimes it'll be on, and I'll watch a couple plays. But I really don't have a feel. But I love Sark. I've been close with Sark for a long time. When he got that job, I was so pumped up, because I know how special Austin is. The players that are in Texas, how easy I feel like it should be to recruit, to get people to go to UT. And to me, it's basically to me like a Florida school if you took out Florida State and Miami and all that. And that's to me what UT is. And them being in the SEC now, having Sark there for a few years, it was just a matter of time before I felt they would be loaded, and he knows what he's doing schematically. So, and I love that they beat Michigan the way they did.
Oh, yeah.
So I could mess with some people in this building, but I'm all with the Longhorns, and hopefully they can finish it out this year.
Nice.
We'll just have Derek text you updates all day on Saturday. It'll be all good. Good luck on Sunday against the Bears, Kyle, and we'll talk to you next week, man.
All right, guys. Thanks
so much. I was the head coach of the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan. Joins us every week throughout the Niners season, and he'll do so continuing going forward here on Dirty Work. Adam Copeland, D-Pop with you.